You ever have one of those weeks where it feels like the whole world's been bought up, carved out, and shrink wrapped for sale, except for the one tiny spot you still call home? That's exactly how it started for me. One minute I'm showing Aggie my neighbor, and the closest thing I've got to a living Cherokee elder, some slick website for Sterling Industries. Next thing you know, we're staring at plans for $1 billion authentic Native American resort plopped smack over sacred ground. I mean, you want to talk about gall. Their so-called experience center was built right on top of Cherokee ceremonial sites, gift shops, fake villages, craft demos, the works. It was cultural theft with a smile, selling respect as a brand and using our burial grounds for profit. That night I sat in my granddad's old workshop, the air thick with sawdust and family ghosts, looking at a map covered in red push pins. Every pin was a property Sterling had already scooped up, except mine, a lone white island, the last piece they needed to finish their puzzle. But here's the thing about billion-dollar corporations. They always forget some detail that doesn't show up in a spreadsheet. See, I knew secrets about this land. Old secrets, documents buried in the hills, protected by treaties dating back 150 years, the kind of paperwork that could shut down their dreams forever. If I could just find them before Sterling's lawyers found a way to force me off. The GPS device in my hand felt heavier than it should. That's the thing about fighting people with all the power and none of the roots. They play dirty, but they don't understand what it means to answer to ancestors, to history. Sterling crossed a line, and in my culture, you cross a line like that, there's always an accounting. So, if they wanted a show, I figured I'd give them one. Next morning, I walked right past their hidden camera's field phone on speaker, moaning about my financial troubles. I even put on a whole act about selling the farm to pay Mom's medical bills. 80 grand in debt taxes due, maybe have to sell quick. You get the picture. Ridiculous, yeah. But I knew Sterling's goons were probably taking notes in some glass tower, adjusting their game plan. And then twist number one, while doing my usual recon on Tori Sterling's Instagram, I get hit with a gut punch, a video of her sitting cross-legged in a meditation pose on my mother's grave. There she was, pretending to channel sacred vibes for her 500,000 followers, turning my family's resting place into her personal content farm. Heart emojis, hashtags, comments about native wisdom, all while she'd moved my mother's headstone for the shot and rearranged sacred stones like props. I felt sick, angrier each time I watched it. Folks praising her connection, they didn't know the first thing about Cherokee traditions, and she sure as hell didn't care. Meanwhile, her sister Sam came at me from a different angle. I found out thanks to an old buddy at the Department of the Interior that someone had filed a stack of environmental complaints about my property, each one written in that special legalese only corporate lawyers know. Accusing me of groundwater pollution, improper waste permits enough red tape to strangle a herd of buffalo. It was so obvious I almost laughed, except I knew exactly what they were up to. File enough complaints, bury me in bureaucracy, force me to sell cheap. That's how they win. Most folks would fold right then. But I've got one ace in the hole. Deputy Rick Bear Johnson grew up on the next reservation over, understands both Cherokee law and American law. I showed him the GPS tracker, the Instagram video, the complaints, hoping for a little backup. Bear just shook his head, told me the law is slow, and unless Sterling got caught red-handed, there wasn't much he could do. But Ethan, he said these people aren't just trying to buy your land, they're planning something big. Before we could talk more, I got a message from an unknown number. Mr. Clearwater, this is Victoria Sterling. Let's resolve our little misunderstanding. Join us this weekend at our event. Attached was a photo of my land full of catering trucks and a DJ, not even pretending to ask permission anymore. Moments later, another text came in, this one from Sterling Legal Services. Your property may require immediate environmental remediation. We are offering $400,000 and will assume all liability. Respond in 72 hours or face regulatory action. My land was worth over $1.5 million, insult to injury. I stared at a bottle of whiskey I'd kept sealed since Mom's funeral. The pressure was coming from every side: legal, financial, social media, now literal parties on my land. Then I saw the old Cherokee bow grandad made by hand, and I remembered what Aggie once told me. Sometimes you let your enemy think they're winning right up until the trap closes. Let me back up a sec. Did you know? Cherokee warriors used to dig traps by learning their prey's habits. Today I decided to apply that wisdom to Instagram influencers. I reached out to Oklahoma State's geology department, set up a survey of my property, official paperwork, and all just to give me cover to dig a pretty substantial hole. Dr. Martinez from OSU came out thinking we were looking for groundwater contamination. What we were really preparing was more like Oklahoma's most expensive booby trap. That's when the land gave me another gift, a metal box buried deep, wrapped in oilcloth like the old-timers used to do. Inside, I found treaties, land grants, and a formal agreement from 1871 signed by the U.S. government and the Cherokee Nation declaring my property and 500 surrounding acres as protected sacred ground. The real deal with seals and signatures. Sterling wasn't just trespassing, they were planning to violate federal law. But I wasn't done yet. Using my geology background, I did the math: a Lamborghini Huracan 40 mpr pit deep enough to trap the car but not hurt anyone. I dug in the exact spot the Sterling sisters like to make their grand entrances: 8 feet long, 6 wide, 7 deep. Over 6 hours disguised with sod and grass, so the surface looked untouched. And here's where things get real country. I filled it with 530 gallons of the nastiest, most aged livestock manure you could imagine, collected from every farm in the county. 6 months worth, sealed tight and fermenting. I added a GPS tracker and motion-activated cameras disguised as wildlife equipment just in case things got legal. The finishing touch: camouflaging the surface with transplanted grass-aged soil. The works you could walk across it if you were careful, but any weight would drop you right into Justice Lake. The day before the big event, I got a text from Tori. "Hey Doc, Netflix crew's coming to film my new series. Can't wait to show off your boring old farm," complete with photos of their setup right over my mother's grave. You know what I mean? These people had no boundaries. But that night, right when I thought everything was ready, the hospital called. Aggie had fallen broken her hip. She needed me, said there was something sacred to pass on. I tore across town to her room, heart racing. She looked frail, but her eyes were sharp. "Ethan," she said, "I wasn't planning to tell you this yet, but the ancestors don't always give us the timeline we want." Turns out she'd been the keeper of the community's sacred bundle spiritual objects document stuff dating back 7 generations. Inside that bundle, legal proof letters, genealogies enough to protect our land forever if filed right. But to transfer guardianship, we needed to hold the proper ceremony on sacred ground at the exact time Sterling was hosting their circus. My phone started blowing up, Bear warning me about a convoy of cars, Netflix sending official notices, Tori texting about the mayor and a state rep coming to their launch. My stomach turned when I saw a photo of a red carpet being rolled out across my pasture stage lights right over my mother's grave. The audacity. Aggie squeezed my arm. "Maybe the ancestors want your trap and this ceremony to happen together. Justice in both worlds." And that's how it went down. As night fell, Aggie and I sat in a circle up on the hill, burning sage, praying in Cherokee, as the lights from the Netflix production glared below. At exactly 9:15, just as the final blessing finished, a crash like thunder rolled across the valley, followed by screams, honest to God, Hollywood-level screams. I checked the footage later. Tori hit that trap at 47 mph. The Lamborghini went airborne, then disappeared nose first into a pit of pig manure. Sam, filming in the passenger seat, got thrown into the dash. Netflix's cameras caught every second their arrival, the crash, the panic, the Sterling sisters up to their necks in stink. The mayor and state rep ran for the hills. Bear showed up with the fire department's hazmat team, took nearly an hour to fish everyone out. Then the real twist when they tested Tori, she blew a 0.15 back and had a bag of cocaine in her purse. Sam was carrying forged deeds claiming they'd already bought my land. The Netflix footage turned into evidence in a federal investigation. By midnight, Hatcher Sterling fail and hashtag Cherokee Power were trending news stories popping up everywhere. David had clobbered Goliath with pig poop and paperwork. Sterling's dad, Harold Sr., called me that night, threatened to destroy me with lawyers' politics money. Paper doesn't stop bulldozers, he sneered. But he forgot one thing: public opinion, Cherokee law, and the truth. The next day, the tribe's lawyers filed for emergency federal protection. The FBI launched an investigation, and within a week, my land plus 500 acres was officially designated as protected sacred ground. No bulldozers, no resorts, no more Instagram vibes. The fallout: Tori lost millions in endorsements and 2 million followers. Her grave-sitting video ended up in corporate sensitivity trainings. Sam's law license got suspended, but she turned around and started fighting for indigenous land rights. Sterling Industries got hit with $23 million in fines and federal racketeering charges. That Lamborghini pulled out, auctioned off, and put on display as a monument to what happens when arrogance meets karma. The money went to fund future land protections. Aggie Recovered became the first official cultural interpreter for the site, sharing real Cherokee traditions with visitors. The whole community benefited: real respectful tourism workshops, scholarships for kids, justice not just for us, but for generations to come. If you made it this far, let me ask, what would you have done? Ever had someone with more money try to push you off your own ground? Drop your thoughts below. Where's the line between progress and respect, between justice and revenge? Because around here we just learned the hard way. Sometimes the hole is a whole lot deeper than you think.